another edition of WorldView, produced by the 9th grade world history classes. My name is Eitan.
And I'm Marie. Our first story this week is from the Middle East. Egypt's new government is facing unrest. President Morsi has given himself extreme power and tried to pass a draft of a new constitution without approval from the judicial branch. Many Egyptians are protesting his attempt to create autocratic rule and his bypassing the judicial branch. Many are protesting because the draft was written by only more extreme Muslims. The people are asking for Mr. Morsi to either leave office or for his government to step down.
Elsewhere in the Middle East, 9 suicide bombers hit the United States/Afghan base in Jalalabad. 5 people inside the base were killed. The Taliban claimed responsibility for the act immediately. In tweets, they gloated over what they called a victory and claimed that the bombers were martyrs. All 9 attackers were killed.
Civil war continues in Syria, with fighting between government and rebel forces coming closer to Damascus, the capital. Merchants in Damascus have staged peaceful protests by closing their stores during the weekend. In parts of the city, there were entire streets closed shops. Members of this so-called strike of peace have been spreading the word through social media sites and spray painting walls. However, the strike hasn't been entirely successful because of internet failures.
In a show of continued United States support for Israel, the United States Army Corps of Engineering are planning to supervise the building of a new Israeli Air Force base in Tel Aviv. Construction will take 2 years at a cost of up to $100 million. Only U.S. construction companies will be allowed to bid on the project, and workers must come from countries approved by the Israeli government.
Recently, Russia has warned North Korea not to fire a missile said to violate the United Nations resolutions. It is scheduled to go up between December 10th and 22nd. The Koreans have said that the rocket will be used to launch satellite into space. Many people outside North Korea say, however, the purpose of the missile is to eventually carry nuclear weapons. North Korea's biggest ally, China, has also expressed concern about the launch.
Conditions in Congo grow worse each day as the rebels continue their attacks on civilians who are leaving the country by the tens of thousands. The rebels have seized the city of Goma and spelled out a list of demands. They include the release of all rebel prisoners. The Congo military is preparing to attack Goma and retain it from the rebel army. But this is only a small portion of the rebels that are making life in Congo almost unbearable.
Last week in Bangladesh, over 100 factory employees died from a fire. This is a factory that served many of the world's top apparel brands, retailers such as Walmart, Disney, and Sears. In the past, the factory has been accused of having substandard working conditions. The companies use the factory because it provides quick production, but in poor working conditions and with no regard for the personal hardships of the workers.
Just 30 years after it was released from British colonial rule, Ghana is making great strides in its economy. Ghana, for example, is challenging the well-established Asian sewing market. On average, factories in Ghana have been able to deliver sewn goods 10 days faster than their Asian competitors. They can do that even though their factories are outdated and sewers are slower than those in Asia.
In environmental news, in the past 19 years, ice in Greenland and Antarctica has melted 30% faster than ever before. This has resulted in an estimated 237 billion metric tons of ice from Greenland and Antarctica melting. Also, Greenland is losing ice at a much faster rate than Antarctica. All this melting ice has created an 11 millimeter increase in global sea levels. Lucy has this week's editorial.
Ever wanted to see what outer space is really like? Well, now you can with Google's new experimental website. Using images and information from NASA, the European Space Agency, and others, Google has created a site that allows you to explore our galaxy, or at least the nearest 100,000 stars. This may seem like a lot, but there are actually trillions of stars, though many of them are gazillions of light years away from the Earth. Google made it clear, though, that this is not an entirely scientific document and shouldn't be seen as one. Many people often forget that there's so much going on outside our little solar system, and when we do discover the center of the universe, I don't doubt that a good number of people will be horrified to learn that they aren't it. Jonathan has this week's school service.
The second grade is collecting canned goods and other food items for the Second Harvest Food Bank. You can bring in sealed and non-refrigerable foods. Boxes to collect them are clearly labeled and can be found around upper school. Thanks to everyone who brought in children's books for Diggs Elementary School. A total of 539 books were collected. There is one more slot to sign up for Chess Club December 13th. The student who signs up needs to know the rules of chess. Also, let's take a look at the Before I Leave Summit wall outside the 9th grade lounge and leave your own message. And don't forget the holiday dance. You can bring one guest. That's all. Thanks to everyone for your service. And now to me for sports. On Tuesday, varsity boys basketball team beat Calvary Baptist 52-26. The varsity girls basketball team also had a successful win of 38-22 against Calvary. JV girls lost a tough game, 28-26 to Bethany. Co-ed swimming had a meet against Canterbury. Davidson Day and Westchester Country Day students in a Lifetime Sports took a trip to Camp Haines. Now here's El Tiempo Aguillas.
Buenos días, amigos. Yo me llamo Alfonso.
Y yo me llamo Noé. Bienvenidos al programa El Tiempo Aguilas. Este es el pronóstico para el fin de semana.
Viernes. La temperatura alta es de 14 grados centígrados, parcialmente sólido. Sábado. La temperatura alta es de 15 grados centígrados y parcialmente nublado. Domingo. La temperatura alta es de 17 grados centígrados y un poco nublado.
¡Qué bien! Entonces, este fin de semana necesito llevar pantalones o pantalones cortos, una chaqueta opcional y también una camisa. Es todo por hoy. Adiós!
Now here's Graham with weather in English.
This weekend's weather is going to be great. Friday, it'll be mostly sunny with a low of 48 and a high of 61. On Saturday, it will be mostly cloudy with a high of 67 and a low of 48. And on Sunday, it will be partly cloudy with a low of 55 and a high of 77. Our holiday town this week is Rudolph, Ohio. This week in Rudolph, the weather will be in the low 40s with rain.
That's a wrap for this week. Thank you for watching.
Goodbye, everyone. We'll be here again next week.